All right, good day, everybody. This is Zemar Substitute. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Inquirer Show. We're recording on July 21st, 2021. Thank you for joining us on today's broadcast. On today's show, we will break down all things Atlanta United in the original free kick, from dismissal of Gabriel Heinze as manager to the promotion of Rob Valentino, and all things related to that, including Josef Martinez's return to team activities. I'll break that all down for you. Next up, we'll go to the backdoor cut. The Milwaukee Bucks are the NBA champions. They won in Game 6 last night, so we'll break that down, just the NBA season in general. In the miscellaneous department, we'll delve into the Tour de France, the British Open, the Olympics, which officially are opened up yesterday, but that's going on. We'll go into all of that stuff. And then also the new Space Jam movie and my thoughts on that. As always, if you want to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You go to our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. You do a search for us on there, you find us, you follow us, and you'll get all news and notes in the world of sports. Next up, you go to our audio and video content providers such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. Under the Sports Inquirer, do a search there, and you will see all of the content that we have going on. I'm not going to promise a Rebel Submission podcast because, darn it, I've seen things get in the way for me doing one. Tomorrow, I think I can fit one in, but we will get one in the very near future because there's so many notes in the world of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. I got to do one, but I promise to get one there hopefully within the next few days. So we'll see what happens there. All right, now that the intros are done, let's get right to it. The Atlanta United, wow, a very active week on and off the field. You know, it's interesting when I have doing the show on the Wednesday before they have a match. I want to take a few days off just to catch myself mentally and physically with some other things going on in the world. And I get the flyer or the note of Gabriel Heinze being dismissed. That Josef Martinez drama, well, not drama, but issues with him. There's just a lot going on over the past few days. And now I finally have time to sit down and talk with y'all about everything that is going on. Well, let's get to the actual match itself that took place this past Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Atlanta United fell to New England Revolution 1-0. Homegrown player George Campbell made his first start in MLS play. Amar Sejcic made his debut with the club with Atlanta. Remember, he was traded from Montreal to Atlanta this past week. The only goal of the contest came in the 18th minute from Gustavo Bo. He was able to get a nice pass from Adam Busca, who gave a centering pass to Bo, and he scored a goal after he took a deflection off of Campbell. Really not much to highlight from that contest. You saw in the stands, free Josef Martinez. I know it's like a big theme with free Britney Spears. It's kind of with Britney Spears, you know, she's going through what's it called? I'm blanking on what the term is as far as her legal situation with her father and trying to be emancipated from him and all that stuff going on. And then Josef Martinez with his stuff as far as his issues with Gabriel Heinze, training away from the team and not being involved in team activities. So you saw and then at the 7th minute, you saw the fans chant for Josef Martinez. Very not the best atmosphere for a game for Atlanta United, off the pitch or with the stands. And then ultimately losing 1-0 in a listless performance. That ultimately led to the end of Gabriel Heinze's time with the team. He was relieved of his duties right after the contest. Well, actually, not technically right after the contest, because the contest took place on Saturday, and he did the post-game presser and everything like that. And then we got the note on Saturday or Sunday. I'll look it up right now because we got to be accurate as far as everything going on with it. So yeah, I think it was Sunday is when he was relieved of his duties. Yeah, so it was on Sunday at 3:00 p.m. I got the note. I think I was at the gym and did some shopping, and all of a sudden I got that note. And then furthermore, and we're gonna play some audio from President Darren Eales and VP and Technical Director Carlos Bocanegra on I missed the presser. We did get the audio, and we're going to play some of that throughout the show. But the big thing with Gabriel Heinze, came in from Argentina, replacing technically Stephen Glass, and we'll get to that as well. How Atlanta is now on his fourth manager in the span of a year. That's not very good at all. But he came in the offseason, came in with some promise, but it just did not work out. Atlanta was 2-4-7 in MLS play under Heinze. They also lost in the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup. Remember to Philadelphia earlier this year. So they just had no continuity, just no good play, throughout the tenure with Heinze. But here's Darren Eales, president of Atlanta United, on the firing.
So since we launched Atlanta United, our collective expectation has been to be a model franchise in how we operate and play, not only in MLS, but in global soccer. We're a club that strives to serve our fans, our players, our city and our staff the way an elite club should. So today, based on a variety of issues relating to the day-to-day leadership of the team, we made the decision to relieve Gabby of his duties. And Carlos and I made that decision on the best interests of the club. From here, we'd like to fill that vacancy as soon as possible. I'm going to do our due diligence to find the right fit. And we're focused on finding quickly a leader who is not only committed to high competitive standard, but importantly is also a cultural fit and embodies who we are as a club. So we're looking forwards and we're invested in a successful rest of the season and competing to make the playoffs.
And there was a variety of issues that led to the firing. The quote from Atlanta United, and this is directly from their press release, a variety of issues relating to the day-to-day leadership of the team led the club to this decision. And I'm going to go over some of those issues, I think, and what it meant as far as the firing goes. The first one, the lack of trust, I think, in the younger homegrown players. Now, and we're going to get to Josef Martinez and the culture of the team, but I wanted to get this point out there first before it gets lost in the other, I think, bigger issues. You looked at that contest on Saturday against New England, starting Eric Lopez and Eric Torres up front instead of the homegrown players Tyler Wolff and Jackson Conway. We've seen Wolff and Conway get some playing time over the past few games and show some energy. Conway had an away goal against Nashville, the MLS game before New England, when they got the nice draw, on the road against Nashville SC. So you have these influx of young players. Now, part of that is due to the necessity of availability. All of the player injuries, from Jurgen Damm, as far as Emerson Hyman is out for the year with torn ACL, to the international duties of three American players, United States players, in Brad Guzan and George Bello and Miles Robinson with Team USA in the Gold Cup. Ezequiel Barco is with the Argentinian national team as far as the Olympics go. So all those players are unavailable. So that's opened up some spots for young players. We've seen, as I said, Tyler Wolff play, Conway, Sop Scholl. He's gotten some playing time, and George Campbell, the defenseman. But the fact that in a game that this is a time for these younger guys to shine, you put in Eric Lopez and Eric Torres, who have both underwhelmed in their time with Atlanta United. I know that they're big ticket items of players that are brought in and have that mark, but they have not played well at all this year. They've not produced goals. They've not produced offensive opportunities. And you start those guys instead of Wolff and Conway, who have both shown some energy, and especially with Conway, shown production while being on the pitch. Here's Carlos Bocanegra on the firing and kind of touching on that topic.
Yeah, as Darren said, there are a variety of issues that led us to this decision. And out of respect for Gabby, we're not going to air everything out. We had a number of concerning issues brought over the last few months. And our process of evaluating some of them brought us to this decision today. At the end of the day, it was clear this decision needed to be made because it's in the best interest of our players and the club. Darren and I are on the same page. We're going to be sorting Rob Valentino into as an interim head coach. And like Darren said, looking to bring someone else in quickly. We've got a strong, balanced squad. Got guys returning from injury. We have guys coming back from international duty. We're going to be looking to add a starting caliber player here in the international transfer window. We've got 21 games left, 2/3 of the season. we're confident we can move forward and with our goal of making the playoffs.
And then obviously, I think the biggest story that has emerged from this is I don't say lack of respect, but the miscommunication or the misusage of Josef Martinez by Heinze. You look at the reality of it, where you have Josef Martinez, who's when healthy and in form, probably a top five player in all of Major League Soccer. He's best player in Atlanta United history. He who led him to the MLS Cup, league MVP, tremendous individual and team accolades. But there was just a disconnect with Heinze from the very beginning. And it really came into form over the past few weeks when Martinez came back from, well, first of all, he was part of the Venezuelan national team for Copa America, tested positive for COVID, and came back to the team and was not training with the team. With the team, he was still practicing, but not with the squad. And we learned later on, and Martinez addressed it in his presser. I guess he was dealing with a minor heart issue, which is nothing to joke around about or to mess around with. So you add all of that together, just not a very good scenario of now if you're going to train separate from the team, whether it's from his conditioning or his to deal with his heart issue. I mean, those are tangible, understandable reasons. But to pretty much shun Martinez out of the team and to pretty much isolate him was not a very good move at all by Heinze. You saw Martinez make to through a media source say this will be his last year playing for Atlanta United. He unfollowed the team on social media. Just a very tough situation overall. But I think that you saw, and here is Darren Eales about the Martinez and Heinze issues.
Firstly, as far as Josef's concerned, that didn't play a factor in our decision. So just quickly on the Josef issue that you've all been sort of reading about. I mean, that was two big personalities. You get that in soccer. You get that where personalities will clash. Josef and Gabby had a chat yesterday. They're actually training today. Josef was doing full training today here at the training ground. So, that was not something to do with the decision we made. Obviously, the timings overlapped, but that wasn't a factor. Doug, on the second part, that's just something we can't comment on now, but, obviously that's something you can ask the league or the union.
And obviously, you're not going to get a direct answer from Darren about that being an issue because, to be fair, and they stated throughout their presser, it's a dismissal of a coach, but you want to be professional. You don't want to really, I don't say throw someone under the bus, but you don't want to badmouth someone, or kick them while they're down while you fired them. But you can tell that yes, that was a major issue of things going on, with Atlanta. Here is Josef Martinez himself on dismissal of Heinze.
No, creo que no hubo ningún problema. Solamente yo respeto la decisión que se ha tomado. Disfruté mucho, esta parte. Pero bueno, gracias a Dios se resolvieron los asuntos. Y bueno, yo solamente respeté, si me tocaba ser profesional, hacer lo mejor posible. Y bueno, aquí estamos.
There wasn't a problem. Obviously, I respect the decision that the club has made. I have to be professional about this. The issues were resolved. So now you just have to be professional.
And I think another major reason for the firing or dismissal of Heinze, if you look at the crowd for that New England contest, only 42,517 people attended that match. As far as on paper, that was the attendance. Now, that's still a tremendous number. In Atlanta, and it's tough now with COVID and some stadiums around the world having fans in full attendance, some not having fans at all in the stands. But to be fair, I'll estimate maybe they rank in the top 20 in the world in attendance. And Atlanta itself has no crowd restrictions as far as availability. Now, they don't have the upper deck open, but that's pretty normal. They only open up the upper deck for about 3-4 matches a season. But only 42,517 people in attendance of that contest, second lowest total at MBS, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, ever in MLS play. So the crowd wasn't there. And you could tell, I was watching it from home. Not a lot of energy in the stands by Atlanta United standards. You saw a lot of empty seats apathy was starting to fill in with Atlanta. I think part of that is the team's not playing well. Part of that is the whole Josef Martinez situation. I think there are literally hundreds of people, maybe even thousands, who want it's it's the middle of the summer, but that hasn't stopped them having big crowds before. But not playing well, Josef Martinez situation, not producing a lot of goals. Remember, they came into MLS promising action, a lot of goals scored, a lot of back and forth play, and we saw that with Tata Martino, and that was the best combination because they won contests while playing that style. De Boer, who was more pragmatic with his approach, one more, not as much as Tata, but one more than Gabriel Heinze did, but it wasn't really pleasing style of play visually for the fans. But at least they were putting it together results. In the end, he didn't. But at least you're getting some results. But you were seeing none of that going on. But with Heinze, not only were they not producing and producing and winning and scoring goals, it was a boring style of play. And here is Eales on the culture of Atlanta United and what they're trying to not only continue to build, but to cultivate.
When I speak about the right person for the job, I think it's we've got a number of stakeholders. So obviously, performance on the pitch is paramount. In the game of soccer, it's about what happens on the grass and the results you get. But we've got many more stakeholders than that. Our fans, it's unbelievable. Our fans, and right from day one, we've had their support. We've been so fortunate to have such an avid and huge fan base. We're top 15 in the world on average crowds. So, the fans are important. It's how we built the club in, the way that we identify with the fans, with the media, with you guys. We're in, not only us, but every club in MLS, we're about trying to build the league. So we're pioneers in that respect. So you guys are important stakeholders. The players themselves, they're out there battling. It's important, that aspect. Our staff, there's an expectation in terms of when you're at Atlanta United, how you sort of act with core values. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. I think, and again, to separate, and we're worried, Felipe, and concerned obviously about on the pitch. That's important for us. We want to compete for trophies. We talk about that. That's what it is to be Atlanta United. We want to be a team that's competing for trophies. Right from the very start. That's what we've set as our aim. But the other thing is, all of those other factors are important. It's about that accessibility to the fans, with the media, with our staff here. It's about carrying yourself in the right way. There's so many factors that go into it. And look, it's difficult. And, I'm here because, I'm more disappointed than anyone. This has ended a lot shorter than obviously anyone envisaged. And, we have to get the next high right. We know that's important. And look, I know more than anyone that, with Atlanta United, the spotlight burns brighter and hotter because we are a team that has such an avid fan base, that has such a, you guys following us on the media, which is great for the club and great for the league. But with that comes a responsibility. And, we have to get the next high right. That's something that we want to do quickly, because this season we're only, we've still got 21 games to go. We're just over a third of the way through it. We feel like, in terms of some of the players we've got coming back, we've got the three guys at the moment that we're honoured that are representing the United States national team. We've obviously got Barco, who's with one of the strongest teams in the Olympic Games, out in Japan representing Argentina. We've got a number of players, whether it's Sosa with injury, obviously Josef, players coming back from injury. So we've got a number of starters coming back. We're going to look to be aggressive in this window and bring in another starter that can be a difference maker. So we feel really good about the outcome. But again, I know that we have a responsibility now to get this next high right, and it's going to be really important that we do our due diligence and that we get someone that is understands that when you're working for Atlanta United, there's a number of boxes to tick.
And I can tell you right now, personally, just dealing with the media interactions with Heinze, I don't say he was stubborn, but I think being from his background and coming to the United States and having to talk to the media, and he would get a lot of questions from Doug Roberson from the AJC, Felipe Cardenas from The Athletic. I would ask him some questions, and you would never get like a direct answer from it. And his fallback was always, whenever he was questioned about something, this is how we do it. It's the process. I don't look at distractions. I don't look at this, that, and whatever. And I think if you have that approach where it's going to be my way, I'm going to approach it the way I want to, and you as the media need to sit back and just accept it. If you're going to have that approach, you have to produce a lot more than he did. And so they moved on from him. And now the new manager, or interim manager, is Rob Valentino. He served as an assistant under Frank DeBoer, Stephen Glass, and Gabriel Heinze. So he's been around the organization for quite a few years, working under those managers. Here is Valentino on him taking the job.
Really, it's never easy to see somebody lose their job, right? I've been in this about 7 years, and it's never easy when you see that. I am personally excited for the opportunity and grateful for the club to give me the opportunity. There's a lot of work to do, right? And ultimately, I care about those boys in there. I care about the club, and I want to see them succeed. I want to see them happy again. I want to see them with smiles on their face. So to answer your question, is mixed emotions, right? So that's kind of where I'm at.
And obviously, there is a lot to digest from Atlanta United and him taking the position, and a lot of stuff that has to take place. But here he is about the first steps that need to be done.
What's job number one for you?
Just kind of get everybody on the same page. Everyone know their roles and responsibilities. We've got to play a game on Wednesday, and I think that's the best thing. So there's games, right? So we can get right into it and hopefully get some positive results.
Were you surprised at all, or did you kind of have a little heads up, or did it come out kind of nowhere?
No, I mean this is shocking. It's never easy to see somebody lose their job like this, and I'm grateful for the time I had with him and his staff. But yeah, I was not.
And coming into this position, it brings a lot of pressure to himself and to the players. Here's Valentino on handling that pressure.
And I was thinking about you guys, thinking about what I'm going to say to you guys, right? It's new to me. But Monty Williams, the coach of the Suns, he said pressure is a privilege. And I believe that. And pressure either bursts pipes or it makes diamonds. And I think about the other side, it makes diamonds. I enjoy the pressure. It's obviously stressful and all those things, but so are those boys. That's why we play the game, and that's why they're here. I think they really enjoy those moments, and when they play in front of 45,000 or 70,000 people, or they play against the opposition that's got people going against them, like that's the pressure you want. This is not real life pressure, right? Real life pressure is the things when you're struggling, you're out of work, or your family's sick. Those are real life pressure. This is the fun pressure.
And with all of that going on, Atlanta does have a match today at Cincinnati. It's on July 21st. Here is Anton Walkes on the players' accountability and taking responsibility for the bad form of the team.
We know the priority right now is us being a group and showing how strong we are. We need to focus, we need to win games, and we've got the quality and we believe in ourselves, so it's about time we start showing it. It's just one of those things, there's a lot that's gone on over the last year and a half. We went through a whole pandemic. There's a lot of things which have changed, in the world, and these changes, they're going to continue, and it's a part of the sport. Like I said, players come and go as well. It's just one of those things where you can't make no excuses, and we have to find a way to start getting results. That's the priority right now.
And here's Brooks Lennon on the team handling all of these changes in the middle of an MLS season.
Yeah, it's never easy to change coaches mid-season. It's always tough for the media, for the guys in the locker room, everyone around the club. It's just not normal to be changing coaches. But that's what we've been dealt with, and that's what happens. So we need to focus on things moving forward, and like I said, getting results, proving to the fans, who are the most important part of this club, that we're going to fight for them and do everything we can to get 3 points each and every week. I think if you look at the games that we've played, I think there's a good sight. We're playing good football. We have guys that are giving everything they have. It's unfortunate that we've had a lot of injuries this year so far, and guys go off on international duty. But we're looking at the group that we have here and focusing everything on playing the best that we possibly can with this group and getting results, like I said.
Yeah, so we'll be keeping track of all of that takes place over the next few weeks as Atlanta makes the transition from Heinze to Valentino and then eventually into a new full-time manager. Let's go to the backdoor cut and quickly touch on the NBA Finals and the championship. The Milwaukee Bucks are your new NBA champions. They were able to win last night's contest, Game 6, to earn the title. First championship for the Milwaukee Bucks in 50 years. Their last title was in 1971, so second time they brought home the title to Milwaukee. Interesting run for the Bucks. They lost the first two contests in Phoenix and then won the final four games, including that crucial game 5 at Phoenix a few nights ago, and then last night in game 6. Biggest takeaway is Giannis, and incredible story from him. Picked outside the lottery. If you know his background story, his family immigrated from Africa to Greece and was really a relatively unknown player. Even coming into the NBA, he was drafted in the middle of the first round as a raw project. I mean, you saw his size and athleticism, but really not much else. Comes into Milwaukee, I don't want to say a small market, but compared to some of the other markets of the NBA, your New York, your Chicago's, Los Angeles, it's not. I would say probably only Portland is in San Antonio, maybe the only smaller market, well, Sacramento. But bottom 5 as far as market size, I would say in the NBA. And he goes into that franchise, starts off with Jason Kidd, some ups and downs there. Mike Budenholzer goes there, takes over as head coach. Get Middleton. They trade for Drew Holiday. And it's a right place at the right time. It all comes together. Last night, 50 points, I think 14, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks. Just a dominant performance by him last night. And really in the last few games of the series, he was the best player on the planet, definitely on the court, for those contests. But a big deal for Milwaukee to win the championship and to take it home. I think that, and I saw Giannis afterwards saying he was with a small market. He won a championship, did it the hard way. And I mean, credit to him for that. And I'm not going to say that they're not going to win another championship or this was a fluke. I don't care how you win a championship, whether it was a few years ago with Toronto when they were able to defeat Golden State, with Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant when they were injured in those finals, to last year in the bubble in Orlando with the Lakers winning that championship, even back to 1999 when you had the Spurs win the championship in the abbreviated season, 50-game regular season in the lockout year. I don't think you look. I don't ever take away a championship from a franchise because all the teams are playing under the same window or under the same conditions. But I think that this is going to be more of an anomaly than a reality. Yet I don't like injuries. I don't like using it as an excuse. But you got to look at that and acknowledge that there were a lot of injuries that took place in the playoffs and even in the regular season that led to these teams winning. And I'll get to the Bucks in a minute because they had their injuries of their own. But you start with the Nets. James Harden with the pulled hamstring, Kyrie Irving with the ankle. They were never the same or consistent in the playoffs, and they underperformed. You had the Lakers, LeBron working his way back from injury, Anthony Davis with his groin in that Phoenix series in the first round. Played a few minutes in the final game of that series, was out for the rest of that series. Phoenix able to move on. You look at the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, him with the partially torn ACL. He was out for the rest of that series that they were playing against Phoenix, and they lost, and Clippers lost that. You just go to Philadelphia. I know Embiid had the meniscus tear, but he was still playing, but that really hurt them. Atlanta, they were doing quite well in making the East Conference Finals. Trae Young twists his ankle, misses 2 games of that series, tries to play Game 6. He's not the same guy. And Milwaukee had their own injuries, and they lucked out because I remember watching that in Game 4 against Atlanta when Giannis was going up for that play up to the rim and landed on his knee. I thought he tore everything, or not everything, but I thought that, okay, he's going to be out for the rest of the playoffs, and maybe he tore something very bad. And knee injuries are a weird thing, and maybe I've worked in athletics in the past, and I've seen players tear ACLs or ligaments and walk off the court like nothing. And I've seen people have bone bruises, and like what Giannis ended up having, I guess a hyperextended knee, and you think their leg was cut off. yelling in pain, screaming, all this other stuff, and you're like, man, they're going to be out for a year or two, maybe their career is over, and they come back and play within a reasonable amount of time as far as rest and recovery. Now, Giannis, when he walked off the court, that was a good sign, but still, you never know. But he did an MRI, and he did miss the rest of the Atlanta series. And credit to the Bucks for able to beat Atlanta in that series and make it to the finals. But I was like, okay, maybe Giannis can come back in game 2 or game 3 when the series comes back to game 3 and comes back to Milwaukee. He's gonna miss the first few games. He plays started that finals game 1, and you can see him working his way back into form because you don't come back from hyperextended knee like that and miss games, especially when it comes to the playoffs, and just go back to your dominant form. But Milwaukee lost those first 2 games. Phoenix played really well. Booker had some big performances. You saw DeAndre Ayton. He played really well. Chris Paul was doing his thing. And you're like, man, Phoenix is in a really good spot. But then starting in game 3, you start seeing Giannis put together what he did. And just tremendous run by him on both ends of the court. And as I said last night, in the 105-98 victory over the Suns in game 6, 50 points, 14, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks. That's just complete dominance. And also making free throws. He only missed 2 free throws last night. I think he was 16 of 18. I mean, you do all of that, that puts you in the category of the best player in the league or in that conversation, whether it's LeBron or Kevin Durant. He has to be in that conversation, in that discussion. And you look at what he's done so far in his career, but under the age of 27 or 28, 2 regular season MVPs, a defensive player of the year, and now a finals MVP. Only guys that have done that in their career, I think, I know Jordan did it, and I think Kareem has done it. And that's it. I mean, it's a list that is very, very small. So he's putting himself in a conversation as an all-time great. And you know, if you've listened to the show before, you know my theory on that. I don't like to do the all-time great conversation until someone retires. And you give it a year or two, and you're like, okay, you could place him in there. So I'm not going to say he's in the top 10 or top 20 yet, but he is putting himself in a very, very good position. So that was a very big win for the Bucks and earning that championship. All right, let's wrap up the show. The miscellaneous department, news and notes that did not fit basketball and soccer. Tour de France, Tadej Pogacar won his 2nd consecutive Tour de France. The Slovenian is only 22 years old. Really I won't say a subdued performance, but I think we're so focused on Mark Cavendish he won 4 stages in the Tour de France, and people were really pushing for him to win another stage, to become the all-time winner for most stages in the history of the Tour de France. So they were so focused on him. Pogacar, he was just able to kind of roll along. You saw him make his big moves in the mountain stages of the second week. And as I said, Slovenian, only 22 years old, was the 2nd youngest guy to ever win the Tour de France. I think he's the youngest guy to ever win 2 in his career. So, I mean, he's still in a young classification, best young rider under 25. He's he's the best climber. He's just a special talent. And I think we're going to see, a lot more from him as things roll along. Another young guy making his big impact is Collin Morikawa. He was able to win the British Open this past weekend by 2 shots over Jordan Spieth. He has 5 PGA Tour wins, and 2 of them, the 2020 PGA Championship last year and the 2021 Open Championship this year, both won on his debut appearances in those championships or those tournaments. So he's a young guy that we talk about Koepka and DeChambeau, and we saw, and Spieth is that's good for Spieth. He had a little bit of a stumble the past few years in his career as far as winning majors, but he's worked his way back into contention. Being in a top 5 finish, that's a very good situation for him. And even Koepka, I mean, we talk about him having a bad tournament, he still finished top 10. I mean, that guy he's a prickly personality, but you can't deny his game. But I think Morikawa, the American, he's a quiet guy, not a lot of personality. He's a great player, But as far as just demonstrative and emotional, you don't see too much of that. But he's a special player and putting himself in the conversation for the best player in the world. Look, the Olympics. If I love the Olympics, I watch everything from handball to gymnastics and swimming, and everything in between, and the judo. I really hope they can pull this tournament off. I'm watching right now. I was switching channels, and the women's soccer tournament started. U.S. lost 3-0. The women's team lost to Sweden. That was not a good look for the United States team to start off the tournament. But I'm seeing Brazil and China playing right now. We've seen some softball take place, and this is not odd. I mean, games take place before the opening ceremony, so that's not the surprise of it. But we've seen positive tests from different countries. Coco Gauff, the United States women's tennis player, she's tested positive, so she's out of the tournament. I just hope that they're able to pull this event off. And I think when you bring all these countries in from around the world, literally, and some players are vaccinated and staff, some aren't, some are even vaccinated, and you still test positive for COVID. So that means you have to isolate yourself. It's very complicated, all the stuff that's going on. But I'm just hoping and praying that one, everyone is safe, but two, that the Olympics can actually still take place. And we've seen the Japanese government say there's a possibility it can be canceled at any moment. So you have to worry about that as well. But it is taking place, and hopefully they can get that tournament in or the event in. And then finally, I have no interest in watching the Space Jam movie. I saw the first one when it came out. I was a little bit younger. I think I was about 13 or 14. So I wasn't exactly too old for the movie, but I was not interested in seeing the cartoon. I've seen the movie, and I mean, there were players in like Charles Barkley and Michael and Patrick Ewing. So I was interested in that, and obviously Michael Jordan being in it. And I grew up on Looney Tunes, so anytime you get Bugs and Daffy or in the same entity, I'm going to be down for it. So I've seen the first one many times. It's okay. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but it's for kids. You got to realize that. The second one, or this current one with LeBron James, I think I'll see it eventually, but I don't have HBO Max. I'm not going to go to theater to watch it. But I just have no interest in seeing nothing against LeBron, but I've seen the snippets of it, the trailers and the previews of it, and I've heard some reviews of it because I know people that have kids and have watched it. I just don't have a big interest in seeing that movie. But if it makes money, good for them. And I think it's really for the kids 12 and under. What I have heard though, and this brings up a good point about just current state of cartoons. You have younger people that really don't check Looney Tunes as much as they used to. I know when I was younger, that's really, I want to say all we had, but you saw so many of those Looney Tune movies in Disney. Those are the kings of it. You had Bugs Bunny as a Daffy Duck and Yosemite Sam. You had and Porky Pig, that side, with Looney Tunes. And then you had Disney, where it was Mickey Mouse and Daffy Duck and Donald Duck, excuse me, and those entities of cartoons. So you had that and Goofy, and that side of things. Now you have Family Guy and The Simpsons, and then if you really like Rick and Morty, if you want to go even a younger demo, than that, all those things you see on the Cartoon Network, those characters. That's really more the cartoons people are aware of. I just don't think that the 10 and under or 12 and under crowd is really checking for Bugs Bunny anymore like that. So I'm seeing a lot of parents, they're saying they go to the movie and they're actually getting more of the jokes and the references than their kids are. Because if you're in your 40s or 50s or 30s even, and you have kids, you grew up where Looney Tunes and Disney were big in that world. And then I think also you see the proliferation of the Pixar movies, whether it's Frozen, and if they're not Pixar's, don't kill me. I'm not but you've seen the Toy Stories and the Frozens and all those movies. I think those have become bigger animation products than the Looney Tunes and the Disney. So I said, if you're making Yosemite Sam making jokes and shooting Daffy, that was another thing. I heard they actually pulled off the shooting, and we would see in the movies they'd shoot Daffy, his beak would go flying around, and even shoot or get the bugs and all this other stuff. I'm surprised they kept the shootings in there because we're in a very different culture seeing with guns and all that stuff. But the fact that they're making these jokes and references that the kids don't get, I don't know about that. But hey, LeBron made the movie. It made a lot of money, and we'll see what happens. And I have to give a fair review of it. I do have to watch it, but I just wanted to acknowledge it because it is a big story that took place over the past few weeks. And that concludes today's show. Thanks for listening to our broadcast. As always, if you want to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership at thesportsinquirer.net for your insightful news and notes in the world of sports. Go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. And finally, subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcast, and iTunes under the Sports Inquirer. Until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.